Hello, world. Welcome back to After the Break. I'm Jay Paul, here with my co-host of the day, Ms. Africa Shivers. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are
Hey, all is well. We're going to jump right into this thing for the sake of time, okay? Because you and I can just go, 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 go.
you?
All right. So we're going to talk about a few things that's been going on in 2025, something that you support that I don't. The good pastor out there in ATL, Jamal Bryant. This whole Target DEI thing, you know what I'm saying? This whole fast during Lent. I share my POV on that and my reasonings behind it. I'm curious to know, why do you support it?
Well, I'm anxious to hear your POV as well, so we can hash this out a couple of times. But the one particular reason why I support it is because I actually listened to what Pastor Jamal Bryant had to say. And his method was to track Black dollars. If I'm keeping it high level, it was just to track what we contribute to this economy and how our Black dollars can affect change, whether that be good for our culture or it be a negative for the corporations. I'm for it because I'm all about having tangible measurements to movement. So that's really to sum it up, as simple as possible. I'm just for someone taking action. It's a tangible goal and it could be tangible results. And that's why I believe that his target fast versus the economic shutdown, the blackout that they had on the 28th are two different things. So I support the target fast over the economic blackout because there was no tangible reasoning why you want to do the economic blackout. You just want to say, hold the dollar. For what? For what? Like, why? It was a collective effort with the economic blackout, but it wasn't a reasoning. What was the end result? So for me, in a way that I want to make an impact in the world would be that I made a change to something. And let me be clear. This is where I'm kind of biased at. Let me be clear.
Okay.
I don't shop at Target. Target is not a thing for me. Target is not a thing for me. There's nothing in Target that I can't get in the Dollar General. There's nothing in Target I can't get at Dollar Tree. Like, I don't shop at Target. Target is not a necessity for me. To me, me and you then went back and forth on this, and it's a luxury to me. And that's my personal opinion. I don't think that everyone believes that, but I do understand, places that have food deserts, places that have, only Target that's going to be their source for everything. I get that. And that is a strategic alignment on Target's behalf. They get into those rural areas to be able to be the only brand. And you will see Walmart do it with the Fresh Mart. You will see all these different corporations do it that invest in their community knowing that they're going to be the only one that absorb those dollars.
Now, Africa, I'm about to pull a Rolling Martin on you. I'm about to cut you off now.
Don't cut me off.
You know what I'm saying? Where have you saw a Target in a financially desperate community where a food desert is? Where's the Target? Though Target isn't like Walmart. They're not everywhere like a Walmart. They're not like that. They're not in those areas.
Well, Target are in rural areas. What you're going to see is that it's a rural adjacent. What I mean by rural adjacent is you'll see a major city, right? You'll see a major city, let's say a Little Rock, right? And you'll see a Target in a BB. And I know you don't know where that's at. So Little Rock would be like a Birmingham, okay? And you will see Target in BB, which would be Hoover or Pelham, and that's the outskirts. And I have seen that there. Like they are there. And they're there because they're competing with Walmart. And you will see them in Walmart areas, which would be Arkansas. So you'll see a lot of that heavy there, where you can look on a map and you'll see different places where they're strategically aligned with competing with their places. BB is small. BB so small, like when you walk back, like you don't even know you passed BB. And you'll see a huge Target right here on the interstate. So if you're coming past that way, you will see it there. So yeah, you'll see it. It's not as heavily concentrated as Walmart. So I have to push back on you there, sir. as I
Well,
travel.
I've never witnessed it myself. I've seen targets in places where there's majority working class families. It isn't in food deserts where targets are from what I've typically seen.
Hmm.
In every city,
Hmm.
and even in
So,
rural
so when you
areas that
say, so when you say working class families, like there's not working class families in rural areas,
no. I mean, I live in a rural area now. You
right?
know what I'm saying? And the Target that was here before I moved here is closed now. It would stand a chance now because the population has increased significantly,
Hmm.
but it closed down prior to me moving here.
Hmm.
But I'm just from what I've witnessed personally. Not saying it
Yeah,
doesn't happen, but I'm speaking for because nothing we're talking about, nothing we discuss is speaking for 100% of nothing. We can never do
right.
that.
Hmm.
But what I'm saying from my vantage points, for what I've witnessed myself personally.
Hmm. Well, from my vantage point, that's what I see as well. But like I
Hmm.
said, because Arkansas, Bentonville, all those things are right there where I have to get to my home place or where my friends and families are. You can see it everywhere. So that's not me speaking to you is not pulling a thought out of a sky. We speak out of experience and the things that we see, and Target is there. But to your point, these are very strategic alignments. And I think that to your point where you corrected me earlier in the week about United States being a business, these two are businesses. So if I'm looking to penetrate some dollars, then I'm going to go into a place where I know I can get the most of that bang, even if it is a rural place, because your welfare check's still going to spend
Of
at
course,
the end of the day.
I mean,
And go
what
ahead.
business owner doesn't? But
Right.
to your point earlier, you know, this is my pushback on the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you mentioned earlier this is a retail space, and you're speaking for hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And the money he requesting on behalf of George Floyd, he got to be talking about millions of us, or the majority of us, because he's not speaking for all of us. So I will say this, okay? Now, you're a pastor. All the problems we got as Black Americans in America, you focus on retail, my dude. I know you're a businessman. Clearly, you're a businessman. I'll get into that in just a second, because I got to read down the whole thing. I got to
Read it
tell you
down.
his reason
I'm
and
gonna
his
give you
quotes,
space. I'm gonna
because
give you space to read it down.
because
Because right now,
because
because
he
right now you read it down past the Bryant. I'm not gonna read down past the Bryant, but I'm gonna read down the wise. So go ahead and
no,
read down
no
past the Bryant.
well, we're gonna read down past Brad because this is what he said. This is his
Mhm.
reason. After the murder of George Floyd, they made a $2 billion commitment to invest in Black businesses. Like what? He sounds like a super pocket watcher. Of a retail space. Black people spend $12 million a day at Target because of how many Black dollars are spent in the absence of commitment to our community. We are focusing on Target first. Now, okay, let's go back to that. $12 million a day. You're a Black man speaking for Black folks. Africa, there are over 160,000 Black owned businesses in America that gross annually over $200 billion in America alone.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we spending 12 million a day at Target, if you're going to talk to Black folks, talk to Black folks. But I'm talking to a retailer because we should be focusing on telling our people to redirect those dollars to our communities. Okay, now it ain't about what Target got. It ain't about what Walmart got. It ain't about what we got. He just mentioned how much money we spend on somebody else. Encourage our people to spend that with us. We got over 160,000 Black businesses and brands in America. There ain't no reason he need to be on the news saying all that, trying to get 100,000 signatures to petition something for somebody else, how much money they make. And this is something he complaining about that they promised to give by the end of this year.
Mhm.
And he making all this noise. Man, hush that fuck. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to hear all that, man. I'm sorry. I can't agree with it. I can't. That just ain't my now.
Okay. So you said a couple of points, and I just want you to go back and forth with
Mm-mm.
me and kind of clarify before I get into why it's important. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first point was this is about Pastor Jamal Bryant and his Gucci, okay,
And it's Louis.
and his Louis, and all these things that we're saying that he shouldn't be doing because, for one, you said he's a pastor, he should be focusing on something else. What is the something else do pastors need to be focusing on?
I mean, okay. Think about how many of his congregation may have been affected by the cost of living. Think about how many people in his congregation may have been affected by the economy, period. Because he's in Atlanta. What I understand about there, because I know some people that still reside there and have been there for years, and in certain industries, people are struggling. Now, I know that economically and in the business sector, there are a lot of African Americans, Foundation of Black America, whatever you want to call them, black folks that are thriving in business in Atlanta. I get that. But this is beyond Atlanta. This is beyond Atlanta. This is America. So what I'm saying is, with all the problems that's going on right now in America, all the changes that's going on in America, you focus on trying to get a retailer. Man, listen, man. You know how many black businesses are going out of business because of the economy? How many black businesses that have the same products that's in Target? And that's excluding the black brands that's in Target now. He can be redirecting and say, go over there, but they can still gonna get them dollars.
You
They
still
still
didn't
gonna
answer
get
my
them dollars.
question. You're not
What's that?
answering my question.
Okay,
Why
let
is
me hear
this
that.
a Pastor Jamal Bryant issue of his personal, like why is it the fact that he's a pastor, he cannot leverage and do other movements because he's a pastor?
Oh, I'm not
Why
saying he can't.
why huh?
I'm not. He can do what he want to do. I'm
Right.
just saying I don't
Okay.
agree with it.
Okay, right. So as a pastor, your job is to lead your congregation
Right.
and to change the tides. And just because you're a pastor doesn't mean you stay within the congregation. It means you go and you make movements throughout the world. That is a Christian belief. That is where we are. That's what we do. You move into impacts wherever your voice can be heard. That's one. For two is I don't care what Pastor Jamal Bryant wears because he's been wearing that since he's been on TV. He's been in that before the Target fast. He's been doing that before. This Morehouse graduate knows exactly what he was doing prior to. He's been very successful prior to the megachurch. He's just been a successful person. So what he wears and how he carries himself in appearance doesn't matter to me. We talked about this the other day when we said, and I think it don't matter to the 130,000 people that signed the $100,000 petition. I mean, the 100 signature petition. So I think that where we fall short is as a community is that we fail to listen to the message, and you looking at the messenger. So I'm going to use Pastor T.D. Jakes with this too, Bishop T.D. Jakes with this too. I'll follow him. Never stop following him. Actually,
Yeah,
I
I
tithe
like
to him.
TD
I do
Jakes.
those things to him,
Yeah, me
right?
too.
But
Hmm.
he's a successful businessman. He's just not as vocal as this one when it came down to the Target fast. But he told us that this is what was going to happen. And he told us that we got to hold them accountable. And he holds conferences with all those people in the Potter's house where he challenged them to put the money back into the black dollars. So, to your point, you said why Pastor Jamal is not rearranging or redirecting the money going towards the black businesses. He is, because I'm gonna tell you, I am a part of all of that. I am in every last piece of it that I possibly can. Okay. And he is redirecting all the black businesses, including the one in Target that will get directly affected. And when I signed up for the petition, I received, I can't tell you how many businesses in there, but it was over 3K black businesses that was in a directory where you can put your business in, and they actually you got a step you got to go through to make sure that your business can be added to this. What he promised the people that would be affected at Target during the Target fast was he said that you can be like, we'll redirect all the traffic going towards your website on the digital platform that shows all of the black businesses that's listed. We'll put you at the top, and you will have all that traffic that's committed from these 130,000 people going back to your own personal website, your e-commerce website that you should already have with your businesses on. The pushback from these black businesses is that we don't have a place to house our product if we yank it from Target. Now, with that being said, some of the black businesses chose to yank their product from Target, because what Target did, and people didn't even pay attention to, is that before this DEI thing got announced, they moved all the black people products to the bottom of the shelf. And you know that at the bottom of the shelf, people miss you and marked it down.
What does it take to get good shelf placing in any retailer?
That's a contract. So that's up to the black. That's up to them.
Right.
To get good product shelf, and then I'll encourage anybody to go follow Judy B, the one that's married to the brat, because she did a great job at telling you how she got Kaleidoscope. But what people placed at the top shelf in Target, but what people miss is that Judy B has a warehouse for this particular point.
I saw it.
My thing is that you may have what you feel about Pastor Jamal Bryant, but somebody has to be held accountable to the promises, the pandering that they did during 2020 when George Floyd got killed on TV. And you all of a sudden now you have this emotional circle jerk where you want to turn around and say you want to be able to help Black people, and you commit. When you think about it from that standpoint, Pastor Jamal Bryant chose Target because Target is a measurable stock, as is Walmart. So if you look on the list, it goes down, it jumps. It goes from the first 40 days is Target, the next is Walmart, and then it keeps going down because they're trying to get a measurement of the dollars. And the reason why this is important, nope, I'll let you listen, I'll let you talk. Let me finish. The reason why this is important because in 2022, for any of the DEI stuff, start talking, okay, was $161.88. So right there, think about this, $161.88. That was June 1, 2022. Okay. June 1, 2 years after George Floyd death happened. Okay. So let's think about this. Let's talk about DEI. I'm gonna jump real quick. I want to talk about DEI.
Yeah, because that ain't. I don't even pay attention.
That's exactly. People don't understand what DEI is.
Okay.
What is a minority in the U.S.? Minority in the U.S., according to Cornell law, okay, it says minority includes race, ethnicity, religion, nationality, gender, sexual orientation, disability, and any other protected characteristic recognized by law. That is called a minority group, okay? Minority group, okay? Occurs within the discourse of civil rights and collective rights as members that are prone to difficult or differential treatment in the countries and societies in which they live in. Okay, so minorities is a protected class, and it has all these different pieces, the components to be a part of minority. Okay, so DEI says, and I quote, according to USA Today, it refers to the policies and measures that organizations use to prevent discrimination, comply with civil rights laws, create environments more welcoming to people from marginalized backgrounds. Stop right there. The criticism behind DEI is it focuses on the race and gender at the expenses of individual merit, and they have challenged the initiatives in the courtrooms and social media, saying it's illegal discrimination. They're saying AKA reverse discrimination against white people. Why? Because it protects the minority class. Okay. Who benefits from DEI? If we're thinking of DEI being a protected minority class, the benefits go to white women first. Number one, numero uno, white women, right? Get it.
Number one.
And they get the leadership roles first. They get the closing the gender gaps in pay, the paid parental leave, the flexibility to be able to take off for their children, breastfeeding rooms, and they have taken full accountability of this.
Now, when was DEI implemented?
DEI was implemented before 2020. It was put under like the Civil Rights disguise, the 1965 Act. And so that's the problem, because under the Civil Rights Act that we were fighting for to be able to protect Black culture, Black people in our class, they clumped civil rights under all of these minority groups, and that messed us up.
The reason I asked that question, that's my point. The way before 2000 or 2020, whenever you said the DEI got approved, Black folk were doing well. Okay,
they actually before 2020. Yeah, it was before
2020. Black folks still doing well before DEI. Black folks doing well now. So, yes. So you know, so that's why folks don't give a damn about DEI like that. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't have been a push for something more concrete. Now, I'm not saying that. That's why we have affirmative action. because there was
Hold
a
on,
push towards
wait.
something more concrete.
But you got to let me finish. I know you want.
Mm-hmm.
I know you want to tell me. I know
No, I'm
you
just saying,
want
but
to.
that's part of my indifference to what you're saying.
Right, right.
Mm.
So when we talked about it, I'm gonna tell you the top 5 people that get supported with DEI, and that's white women. That is LGBTQ plus. Keep that in mind. LGBTQ plus. Number 2. Okay. Families who need IVF treatment for infertility, disabled people, and veterans. Okay, that's top 5. The top 5 people that get the support from DEI. Notice, black people, we're at the very bottom. We already know that. DEI did not directly affect us. Okay, all right. So when you go back to that, if DEI never directly affected us, and we're going back to the stock prices we talked about, Target initially pulled back their DEI efforts in 2023, June 1, 2023, when the LGBTQIA issue started happening. Yes, this is to your point. I understand exactly what you're talking about, that we should not be barking into things that has nothing to do with us. Totally get that. They pulled it back. The stock went down to $131.16. A year later, it rebounded a little bit and went back up to $145.74. January 24th, 2025, they announced the DEI projects is going to be rolled back. This is where I agree with you that as black people, we cannot always jump into things because of emotional shockwaves on TV. So I get your point. Like, I totally get your point. We cannot always jump into shockwaves to that point. But where I challenge you is because he only needed 100,000 people in the petition because he wanted to be able to talk to them during their stockholders meeting coming up in April. Okay, the 100,000 people are people that want to do it. See, this is my challenge. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it.
You mentioned the website where people can go to see the over 3,000 black businesses out of the 160,000 plus actually have in America, outside of the millions of black owned businesses that are on social media. Almost every major city we go to, even rural areas, there's a black chambers of commerce there where we know we can get our list of black owned businesses. There's a website for that. So he could have been informative and directing the culture to there instead of wasting all his time talking about Target.
And my thing is, you not have to do anything you don't want to be a part of. I chose to be a part of him, not because he's my spiritual father. TD Jakes is mine, but I chose him because that aligns with my values. And it aligns with me. So what we need to understand, and this is what stops us from doing anything as a community, is that you think that everybody has to agree with your particular agenda. You have to all align with one agenda. No, it's more than one way to make change. I agree with that because the George Floyd killing, to me, you can see all the pandering. You know why? Because I'm in that realm. Retail is my background. So I knew what had to happen immediately after he passed. We had to take DEI classes. We had to be stroked and feel and make sure we okay, that we wasn't angry black women. All those things happened. And the reason why I agree with Pastor Jamal Bryant is because of my experience with DEI. DEI didn't hire me. DEI didn't get me in there. My work ethic got me in there.
So the $2 billion he asked for on behalf, come on now. I mean, he didn't ask for that on their behalf. I get, they promised it. They said they was gonna get a $2 billion. Okay, after the George Floyd thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, not that he was Target Employee of the Month 2 or 3 times in a row. Not that he wasn't a Target employee at all. They just said out of good faith because they're based in Minneapolis and the event happened and it occurred in Minneapolis. And condolences to his family for their loss. Because that was inhumane. It was wrong and it was murder. You talked about the stock.
Well, go past the $2 billion, because what else did he ask for?
The money to be placed and banked in black-owned banks.
What else?
There was another thing.
He asked for Target to be partnered with I think it's 30 HBCUs because they were partnered with.
You got Patti LaBelle doing that. You got a black brand doing it right now. Patti LaBelle bringing in Nicki Minaj. She bringing in different people who contribute that have black-owned brands that's doing stuff that can feed the community, give us everything that they asked for. Now, on top of that, I'm gonna encourage you to do this here because this is my next point. Because you mentioned the stock market. Mm-hmm. You mentioned how Walmart stock dropped at one point, and
Mm-hmm.
also how Target stock dropped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Since then, since this his movement is dropped $11. That's great.
twelve
But where
dollars.
okay, $12 at currently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's your movement. You would know. Hey, I'm you know what I'm saying? So let's focus on the six.
Twelve dollars,
Let, let
and they lost $12, and they lost $1.4 billion.
well, I'm finna give you some businesses that we can those $12 that we can put $2 towards each company. How about this? Let me give you six of them.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone watching and listening, write this down.
Mm-hmm.
Ticker DRCT, Digital Direct Holdings.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, CARV, is Carver Bank Corp.
Okay.
The third, UONE, also the other ticker for that is UONEK. That's Urban One,
Mm-hmm.
which is the media company. I know everyone's heard of Urban One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The fourth, BYFC, which is Broadway Financial Group, Financial
Mm-hmm.
Corporation. Pardon me, it's Broadway Financial Corporation. The fifth, that you can split those $12 and put two towards this one, ticker RLJ, and that's for company RLJ Lodging Trust. The sixth and final one, ticker AXSM, for Axum Therapeutics. Now, these are six publicly traded black owned companies.
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage you all to focus on this and this alone. Bump Target, bump Wall Market. You know, I'm not promoting that over here. But however, I do have a proud supporter right here on screen with me.
Walmart do still carry themselves with DEI, but they have always done those same things. So when they do go try to boycott Walmart, they're gonna have a problem because their corporate responsibilities is still intact. I thank God for having a little insider there. So they're gonna have a problem when they go towards Walmart because Walmart still do what they do for the community and have done it, and they just renamed the program. So a lot of people need to understand what it means and what it stands for. So to your point, like I totally agree with what you're saying and the whys behind it. I just challenge everyone to go and read before you attach yourself to something. But again, I go back and put this call to action and say, you find your cause, whatever that looks like, and make the movement towards that. And to your point, Jermaine, the problem people is that they don't know or do the research to know where they need to invest their money. To your point around fan base, I have invested in fan base. I invested myself. I'm a black business. I'm a coffee company. And to your point, I did receive a lot of sales from the Target fast. Like I woke up and it was I seen a post where Jamal Bryant wanted us to post underneath, our website, and I had so many sales it took me 2 weeks to get caught up.
That's
So,
beautiful.
so it is people out there doing action, behind their words, but the movement didn't start for everyone. It spread it. And I think that we all need to take um our sphere of impact and make movements like that. But just because you're a pastor or an evangelist or a minister or a singer or whatever, don't mean that you can't make other moves to make impacts, Mr. Paul.
Hey, I'm just saying. All I'm saying
In
is,
your Gucci, because I would do
uh,
the same thing in Gucci. In your Gucci, in my Prada readers. So
hey,
yes.
I'm not knocking the brands. I'm not knocking it at all. Because I'm a Saks Fifth advocate. Okay, all I'm saying is for the one alternative that we all have, I just gave you six alternatives
There you
to
go.
combat that.
There
And
you
those
go.
$12 million, those are different ways that you can, increase that $12 million that we spend as consumers to spend with a number of those 160,000 plus black-owned businesses that you are a part of yourself.
That
And
I mean, that is the goal. Is to build the infrastructure out. To your
exactly,
point about the previous leaders that we had, Dr. Martin Luther King, in my case, Malcolm X, who I'd be the one that lean towards. Like those type of things. You still can have one or the other, but the movement still moved. And I think that we got to get to the point where we're building infrastructure. And I think that's really the topic of the conversation. We just don't know how to have that conversation without people trying to be front and center or wanting to select who is front and center. The conversation still have to be had. It's time for Black people to stop saying that we need, and do. We're at a call of action, and those that do should be moving towards that infrastructure build out. So what does it look like? We don't know, because it's a new territory for us, because we have not made it to infrastructure, a solid infrastructure. And I think that that's just where we are. So, let's just do our part and contribute to the infrastructure build out, because we already know we always going to receive limited resources. So we have to go in other directions to be able to move as a collective unit, and that's hard at times. That's one of the hardest feat that we have as African Americans, is that collective movement.
But
Is just
it's really not. It's really not though, and I think we're overlooking that fact. And
mm-hmm.
you being included in 100,000 is proof of that. Because just imagine if we had 100,000 with every mindset moving in the
Right,
direction of whatever.
right,
It's happening, and I think things like this and conversations like this, are necessary because when we look at what we actually have within our community, that's what we're not knowing. In order to encourage that push, like-minded individuals to get involved in pushing same movement and agendas forward. Like you mentioned, we have companies like Worldwide Technology, which is the largest Black-owned company with 17 billion in annual revenue. And that's just one company and that's out of the 200 plus billion that Black-owned businesses gross annually. And according to 2025 Forbes ranking, the world's billionaires, Nigerian Aliko Dangote, pardon me if I pronounce it wrong, but I'm from America. He has a net worth of 28.3 billion, and he was labeled, according to Forbes, as the world's richest Black man. And so when we look at what's going on today economically, as a culture of Black Americans, we know that a lot of people are focused on being business owners and brands and going to business, not really understanding what business entails. And one of the reasons I push for groups, like you mentioned, getting together in groups of 100,000 or more to push products and brands, is because we know that most Black-owned businesses don't survive. And not that that money is wasted. That's not what I'm saying. Not telling people to not follow your dreams. However, I am a firm believer that what we see in a McDonald's or Burger King or Popeyes or Church's Chicken, we can push brands and restaurants in that same direction as franchises, because that's the only thing that we're up against are bigger brands, more extensive placement and curb appeal. They're right there in every city. We have the potential. In my personal belief and in my heart, I do believe that there can be a rhythm and culture coffee house in every major city. If people invested in it properly and value what it is that we have in Black products. We constantly say that we have the best of everything, but we constantly look for our culture in every other culture and what they put out for us. And I think that that's unfair to the culture. I think that's unfair to the ancestors to expect our culture and demand our culture to be represented and produced by the hands of another culture. I think that that's not a reasonable request culturally. And so that's the reason I say the things I say. I'm not knocking the movement. It's just not something that me personally I would sign up for on a petition. And I'm not discouraging anyone else to not get involved, because movements are necessary, because it can springboard another conversation and another movement. You never know. And so I'm not saying I don't appreciate it. I'm just saying I'm not signing the petition. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not going to stop shopping at Target, even though they canceled my card because I didn't use it 3 times a year. But
well, I think a lot of people still start shopping at Target, and I don't think that
yeah,
you do what's best for you, because at
yeah.
the end of the day, you got
And
to
it shows
support
you
what's
how much
best.
I didn't shop there, how much I don't shop there.
Right, right.
I only had to shop.
I
Only had to shop there 3 times a year to keep my card, and I
right.
didn't even go there 3 times a year. So they let you know.
Right. And I think that to your point about businesses though, when you said that a lot of Black businesses fail, we don't do our due diligence in our own business. And understanding what scaling look like, scaling to get to that point of franchising, or being in every major city, or whatever. But it's more around how do you be comfortable in consecutive growth and not necessarily trying to compete with others. And that is one of the things that we fail at, because you are either building your business and you living off the money that you're building your business with, or you are trying to jump out too fast and not understanding the market. A lot of those things can be combated when you just go visit other places and get the blueprint, because we talked before about blueprints are everywhere, but we want to do it our own way, and people have already done it before us. So sometimes you have to go and just humble yourselves. I'll be 3 years in on paper, August the 16th of this year, and I've only successfully been in 2 years. And with the successful of 2 years, meaning that I successfully have a website running, I'm successfully generating income off the website. I'm successfully moving out into the community now. I'm successfully, staying, having a good footing, and I'm not trying to move too fast to where I end up losing my personal and business livelihood. And I think that sometimes that just sitting down and having partnerships and mentors work. And that's going back to the Target Fast. He did ask for them to teach the retail industry and how to make it to market. And like I said, I just had a one up because of the career I chose to go into. I was able to get into those conversations and understand supply chain and understand demand and when to scale back, because retail spaces do it every day. We scaling back right now. Like
And
when
it's
I tell
probably
you
and,
scale,
and it's probably and it's probably why they don't want to get at 2 billion.
right. I mean, it could be it too, but like and I would highly agree that that's it. You don't have it,
Right,
because
exactly. They
their
don't
stock
have it.
market went from 161 to 104 in what, 3 years? That's horrible.
Well,
It's
you know
down
what is
25.
well, you're
Yeah.
in retail, so you know what a zombie company is, right? And
Yep.
see, that's a term that I hadn't heard anyone speak on. And so since COVID, we have a lot of zombie companies out there. GameStop being one of them. And so there are a lot of people just running on exhausted lines of credit, just like a lot of business, black-owned independent businesses, like not just black-owned independent businesses, just independent
Any
businesses,
business.
period, in 2025, because it's bad. And
I
you know,
believe lines of credit is detrimental in your early stages. You stop self funding when you're ready to really scale. I'm talking about really hit the ball out of the park. When you ready to do that, then you get a line of credit, and by that time you should be working, because people don't even know that your personal credit is your co-signer for your business credit. So if you don't have that together, you are really sad. You're killing two birds with one stone. Like, why would you do that? And I think that a lot of people don't understand that. Like, it's dummy companies everywhere, and people know how to leverage, like, with the PPP loan. That was a big deal because everybody got PPPs, but they came after the little man.
yeah.
Everybody, big corporations, everybody got them because their paperwork was in order. So I
Well,
think that we want to prove that we can do it so bad, because I did the same thing. I am to be very honest. I wanted to prove that I could just jump out and teach people all of what I know. I had to learn the hard way. I'm talking about like skirt.
it's one thing that I did find in researching a while back. I was 95% of black-owned businesses start their businesses with their own capital, as
You need
opposed
to.
to getting loans, and that's good. But
You
twenty
gotta
percent
stay
of
the course though, because it gets so hard. You just gotta stay the course, and you gotta know when to pull back, because pulling back, scaling, whether it be upward or decreasing, is a thing. But people believe that, but they're not winning. Scale back. I
and
had to
and
scale back,
and
and I think I'll be.
Target
Huh?
scaling back 2 billion.
There you go, 2 billion. You can keep poking fun all you want to, because you have no kind of, like, you couldn't even, like, what you're saying. You're talking about the person, and that ain't gonna be my job. But
No, I ain't not. No,
yeah, you
no,
was coming,
I
you
ain't
was
knocking
coming, you
Jamal
was
Bryant.
coming at
Now,
Pastor Jamal Bryan when, if you look back, when he was married to Miss Gazelle
man,
and
I don't
all
even
of
know
that,
who said that.
he
I
was
don't know who
still
the brother was married to.
on that.
I don't
Like, I
know who.
mean, what I'm
What?
saying is that you
Who
can
was
look up Pastor
Gazelle?
Jamal's whole history and see he was on it. And see, I'm surprised people talking about the way he dressed, because you should have been talking about who he related to. That's who you should have been talking about.
Because that listen, certain things I don't speak on because I respect it. I respect it more than I respect the holiday Target, and because of that is, and part of that is the reason I'm saying what I'm saying.
Right.
I think I think it's there are bigger issues that he could promote.
I think he does. I wouldn't talk about what he does. Like I can't speak on what he does in his congregation, but I do believe that he is active in his community. I think that he's very active in his community. But just from what I know, but he's not, like I said, I'm not a member of his congregation, so I can't speak on it. I don't know. I just follow the movement because I believe the message. The messenger is just, it does. I don't care about that because, and a lot of people say you should, but I really don't, because I can look for myself and see what the gains are. Because if that's
Mhm.
the case, I would have stopped following a whole lot of pastors because I'm kind of nosy when it comes down to that. So I just pay attention. But I believe that if the message is edifying me and I can see growth from the message, you my person.
Right
And that's
on.
what it done for me, and that's all I can say to, people out there. Like, if you're looking for somewhere to cause, looking for a cause to connect to, it has to move you, and it should edify you, and it should promote you to get up off the couch and do something, whether that is investing in yourself or just, spreading a good word or whatever it may be. Whatever you attach yourself to should be promoting you to move forward into something better. That's really what it's about for me. And my morals get me in a lot of trouble. I get in a lot of binds because I would choose the moral stance over a business stance.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why my moral stance says push for causes outside of retail. But so, but as Black Americans, one of the things he did mention in his one of his speeches is I like to do his voice.
I see, and that's so like that's not cool. Like, that's crass. Like, for
Black
real. Like, you shouldn't be
Americans.
doing that. Like, that's not right.
Well, that's one of the things I do. That's one of my talents. I'm just saying, Black
Okay.
Americans spend 2 trillion annually. We must evaluate and realign to question why we continue. I'm just saying, two $2 trillion annually. That's a lot of money. And what I'm saying is, we can contribute that to our own communities. We can redirect those spending dollars to our own platforms
I
and
mean, there's
products.
tons of things out there to contribute to. Like, I'm a
Yeah, of
big
course.
proponent for, learning about our ancestry. So, I donate
Uh-huh.
to the African American Museum and Charlotte. I do a lot of different things that I feel like the dollars can go to help promote. But like I said, when you pull back the covers, you're just the individual that has a purpose, and you got to just align it where it need to be at. So some Black people purposes is not meant for the collective, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. It's just that it shouldn't be a big issue to me if you sign what's best for you, you do what's best for you. But let's not put a false narrative out there and act like it ain't moving. Let's not put a false narrative out there and act like corporations are not responsible or have responsibilities to uphold their commitments. That's my wheelhouse. So don't be over here saying that's not their responsibility, because it is. You committed to that. And it's cool, because if it was not true, if I'm gonna leave it at this and I'm gonna put a pin in it.
Okay.
If it wasn't a problem, why are the board of directors, the board members, suing Target because they didn't know that they would have this visceral reaction to removing DEI? My point is sealed, signed, and delivered. It's
No,
called
that's my
corporate
point.
responsibilities.
No, that's my
And
point.
there you go.
That's my point. That's the power of the black dollar. And we
No.
know that. We know that. That's what my thing is this. You in retail, you in business, you have degrees all on the wall behind you. Okay. I'm just saying now, once you know and you can say out your mouth how much the community spends daily and how much we spend annually, that's all you need to know. And once
I think that problem was, they got it. They pulled it from Roland Martin, and Roland Martin pulled it from another accountant. But I believe it was older data. that they was pulling off of. There was like a surface data from what he was saying when he did the interview. He was like, we need new data to ensure that it's 12 million. So he was on CNN
Either
saying
way,
that was, yeah, that he
either
pulled it
e-
from Roland, who
e-
pulled it from economists, but they wanted new fresh data. He said that. Like that's been on every interview he been on.
but think
Yeah,
about that.
because
But
Roland Martin is in partnership with him, which I get a lot of
right,
my black news from Roland Martin because Roland Martin is a good journalist. So
the truth.
when he told me that, and I
Number
said
one.
journalist, not content creator,
Right,
journalist.
right.
So I follow my information from being with journalists. So when he said that, I kind of did the homework and said, okay, I can rock with this because I'm more factual. I don't want to be out here saying the wrong thing and leading other people astray. So that's where it come from. That's where the 12 million come from. But now they're trying to circulate new data to make sure they have it to where they go speak to it. But something is happening because they dropped. They dropped faster than they did with the economic blackout. The economic blackout didn't move a lot of money.
Well, one of the things that I hope happens out that drop is that there will be a commercial real estate owner. I'm going to speak in my Jamal Bryant voice on this one. This is what I would like to hear him say. I'm just saying, with that major economic drop, I'm hoping and I'm decreeing and petitioning any black owned commercial real estate owners that own a building the size of Target. It doesn't have to be that size, but I'm going to say to you that there are over 160,000 black brands that you can fill that space with on your shelves. One of the one of the products is Rhythm and Culture Coffee House. That's all I'm saying that you can purchase right now on rhythmandculturecoffeehouse.com. So Africa, thank you so much. Thank you, Africa. Since you haven't met him and shook his hand, close your eyes for a second, and hopefully this gets you close enough. Africa Shivers, we want to put your product inside of one of those black-owned businesses that look like Target, and I believe that we're going to do it by the end of December of this year.
And I will say, I appreciate you thinking of me, but can I see the contract? Because contracts matter to me.
I know that's right.
I'm not opposed to nothing, but let me see that contract because after you get to penetrating a dollar, I need to know what they trying to say legalese wise because I've had that happen to me where a corporation tried to own my product. So
Ooh,
no.
well, Dr. Jamal Bryant, uh, do you accept the invitation to focus on black companies and black companies only? Accept the invitation. I know you are, brother. I know you are, but accept the invitation to just talk about us. Just talk about us. Accept the invitation. Just talk about us. Bump them. Tired of talking about them. Every time you talk about them, you get them more power.
Not
That's
in
all
this
I'm saying.
case.
They already got it. That's why they can promise 2 billion.
Nah, they dropping. They ain't gonna have it once they bust that past that once they lose that $100 mark,
Yeah.
it's over.
Right on. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got one more subject to touch on real quick. A
I
couple
don't
of
like
other.
ugly.
Wow. The internet does. How about that? The internet does. One thing I don't think a lot of people paid attention to and saw, which was something you informed me on, that has already been brewing, and that was China's relationship with Mexico and their ports. What's up with that?
Over the last 5 years,
Ooh,
China has
five.
been developing two ports in Mexico, and one of them is on the way. It's like it's already receiving goods there, and the other one they're trying to get it to be able to handle the amount of goods that was coming into United States. Um, with the tariffs, you have noticed that China has been very silent on what Donald Trump has been talking about, strategically planning with Mexico, and this is what's giving Mexico the power to push back to what the president is saying and saying we will take on the tariffs. I thought it was tricky when I heard Ontario talk about this. And then he was so irritated that he mentioned, we're not the problem. You need to be checking with Mexico.
Mm,
You need to be checking with China.
mm, mm,
So once I started doing the homework, I seen this article where they showed that China has been in partnership with Mexico, trying to create the new Silk route. You know, the way you get the goods onto each port, from Houston to New Orleans to the Carolinas area on up. And this has been happening. I think that this is where the um, issue with Donald Trump lies with the tariffs. He's trying to stop it. This is where you're hearing about the Panama Canal as well. And this is where you're hearing about the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Because if they touch those two ports that reside in the Gulf of Mexico, which is Houston Port and New Orleans ports, that's another tax on tariff. He has the military station in Panama right now trying to take over that canal because it'll be an attack coming in both ways through Mexico. Mexico trying to attack China. As far as the tariffs in Canada, it's bigger than fentanyl, which the Canada have already came out and said that it's bigger than the goods and services. It's about the minerals. I looked up last night where you can see that Canada is the fourth highest producer in with nickel, and they have five mega mining plants over there, with Indonesia being number one. That I found that very interesting because you brought up India to me the other day, and this is where we know that India is the number one producer of nickel. But who is helping Indonesia? China has developed Indonesia nickel industry with 54% of the country's nickel residing in there since 2023.
That's not a conflict of interest. I mean, in regards to business, I'm sure, as far as global agreements. So what's the big
Yes and
deal?
no. Because even though it's in Indonesia, China owns majority of it.
Oh, so
So
they sunning us. We getting sunned again.
so even when I told
China
you
sunning
about
us all across the board.
of UBE, when I told you about
Mm.
UBE here in New Orleans over here on the water, they have plants in Indonesia, and they're a China company.
Oh, the Japanese company.
Mm-hmm.
They got. Oh,
Mm-hmm. I
now
seen it last night.
UBE is a chemical plant.
A chemical plant that do plastic, they do steel, they do batteries, they do all of that.
Oh, so it won't be a need for Canada for those products. Weren't some of the plastics being imported from Canada?
So when it comes down to Canada, the reason why they're having issues with Canada, in my opinion, is because Canada's nickel is is heavily imported into the United States. And I didn't know that nickel was produced these things, that like, nickel is needed for these particular items, which is, and think about what I'm going to say. Okay, so nickel is needed for EVs, electronic vehicles, stainless steel, aerospace and defense, AI and data centers, energy transition, and nuclear power. So if you think of it this way, I put down beside the EVs Elon Musk, aerospace and defense, Elon Musk. I think about AI and data centers, Meta and Musk. And you see these billionaires standing behind them during the president inauguration.
Uh,
So that's something that is a full circle moment of why they poking with China, why they poking with Mexico, why they poking with our allies, Canada, and then why you have the billionaires in row, and then with Zuckerberg bringing in a new data center here in North Louisiana. So with the Republican Party, we have a Republican state. So like this is all a full circle moment when it comes down to the tariffs, and we as the consumers, we as the everyday working people are taking the hit on it because they want to mine and pull up and develop or take other areas. Like, what would be the reasoning for you to have Canada as the 51st state unless you want control of what happens there and what you can pull there for free? And you know you can't get it from Indonesia, even though they're the number one 56. They own 56% of the nickel production, but that's heavily territory of China. So now it makes sense when you sit back and look at the patterns that we can later go in and discuss on kind of what we're uncovering, because none of this makes sense until it do make sense. And I really say thank you for challenging me to think about everything being a business, because it made me put my thinking cap on outside of my small business and go to the big boys and understand why they're doing what they're doing. It's all because they want more. They want more, or we're running out. Because, like I told you before, we can sustain. President Obama made sure that we can sustain the energy surge if Canada was to take their energy or give us a surcharge, we'll be able to sustain because President Obama ensured that.
Now I do know, unlike steel is something that we get imported from Canada. That's something. The difference I think we can make up on the imports by recycling, because a lot of our steel we do recycle. So I'm wondering, can nickel also be recycled like that?
Well, I'm not 110% sure on that because that's not like my field of study, so I have to really understand where that's coming from. Another thing that I found kind of interesting is that we only have one mining company in the United States,
What's that?
and one nickel mining company.
Hmm.
We only got one in the United States. It's called Eagle Mine, and it's in it's, you ready for this? It's in northern Minnesota, where Canada can take the electricity out.
Mm.
And they just extended a contact. They just extended a contract to 2029. But the problem is that they only produce 17,000 tons of nickel. United States import 159,000 tons. So they can't hold it. They can't sustain it at
Mm.
all. And if they was to develop a new mine here in the United States, it would take 29 years to develop.
Dang. Well,
So
I
they
know.
have to take, like, because in Canada have five.
Mm.
So it's easy to say big bank take little bank.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? What
It's a
you
lot
call
to
me?
unpack.
Africa the asset?
Africa, the asset. There it is.
For, loopholes and patterns and things like that to be able to understand, because this is where I go back and I say, we need to learn how to bark up our own trees and stop worrying about macro things, because it macro affects us, macro to micro,
Mm.
federal, state, local, community, right? That affects us. But we got to get our stuff together. You can't be so surrounded around what's happening macro because it's bigger than us. Who has a
Man,
black steel company? Who
man,
has
come
black
on
nickel
now.
mining, mines? Like we can look for the information and start trying to develop something, but we really need to step our way up and out of just community living and get into the local. That's why with the whoever's a Democrat, whoever's a Republican, whatever, the primaries come up next year, who do we have that has a voice that can get in position? Because to your point, until we get into these offices, none of this stuff we can change.
You talked about relationships and business and government. Think about Jeff Bezos. Think about the postal service.
They
People
trying to
forget.
privatize that. Yeah.
People forget though. But see, that's the thing. It's the U.S. Postal Service. See, it's a government entity, so it's government funded. And see, that's what people overlooking.
I'm noticing now because they cut in 10,000 jobs
Well,
as
they
of
start.
Friday.
What people forget, they started shutting down post offices 2 years ago,
Right.
and they were
Right.
saying that they were doing it for repairs. See,
Well,
I used to haul for the post offices,
and they
and the
also doing the postmaster came out and said that they have been riddled with fraud. They have been riddled with retirement issues, because they have a really good pension plan. They have been riddled with mismanagement of resources. Consumer costs is went up. Like all this stuff has been mismanaged, and I didn't know. I knew that because I go and deliver things to the post office because it's really extremely high to deliver now, and that's the issue. But then he also signed a contract with the Republicans to go ahead and go towards privatization. He did
right,
that Friday. And
right,
then
because the
so
bottom line, the bottom line was affected.
right, the bottom
For
line was
years.
affected. Yep. And then so and in the midst of him signing, he stepped down.
And see, that's one of those things to where like you hear people talk about in the investment world. Um, Take advantage of the opportunities when things are on the downside. And so what's happening now, we see with Amazon, one of the reasons they're able to step in like that is because once again, evolution, things changing, things evolving. And with Amazon being one of their major partners in that regard, because they get breaks from dealing with the post office already, you know, those guys are affecting the postal system. Drop shipping has significantly affected the postal system. And we just have to understand that you got to think drop shipping is direct to consumer, which is a good thing and a very convenient thing. But we know that the long term effect of convenience is somebody going to get pushed out the game no matter
Well,
what,
don't well
because the
even like
middleman is no longer needed.
but even with that, let's just say, well, who's to say that Jeff Bezos wouldn't decide to jump in and own post offices?
Well, that's the
And
conversation. That's the conversation.
you see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I think
Mm-hmm.
people really don't understand is like, let's eliminate what the government pays for and let me buy it. Because
So he got the contract already. Think about what
right,
you just said with Elon and all those
right,
guys with the nickel and all those stuff. He would also benefit because keep in mind he's in that circle.
right.
He would benefit because he's going to get the government contracts.
Yes, yes, and
Because
that's why
because
that's another reason why I feel kind of sorry for Chuck Schumer to a certain degree because he knew that if he shut down the government, they can do all this behind the scenes. When they reopen, it's already done.
mm-hmm.
He knew that, and so but the Democrats don't see where they were saying you should have fought, but he's saying no, you need to play chess and not checkers because if they shut this down, they can rewrite this stuff. And by the time we have to get back up and going, it's a whole new law. Now you got to fight it in court.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people don't really understand that sometimes people have peepholes or get into those conversations that they trying to warn you ahead of time. But because we're so emotionally driven, we don't understand what other people are doing with intent. Intent is a thing. Intent, if I shake your hand and says, have a good day, that means I have an intent for you to move about your day in a good, positive manner. People don't understand that I don't have to necessarily tell you to have a good day to shake your hand and wish you well. Implied intent, this is what's happening behind closed doors. And I think that people don't understand the two. So when they get on the news, they're looking for direct, this is what happened, to be spoon-fed full of information and not understanding that some of this stuff is very much implied. That picture of the inauguration with these billionaires standing behind him, that said it all. This is all about how can I own more. Big bank take little bank.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Africa the asset. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I think we'll dock the boat right there. Appreciate your input, your expertise,
As always.
and your support for the Target Coalition.
It ain't changing,
I know.
I
I'm
am
just
locked
messing.
and loaded. I'm a stubborn girl, and I don't care if you going to the right. I will definitely stand left. That's just who I
Hey,
am. That's what it
hey,
is.
hey, like Bobby said, that's your prerogative.
It is, ain't
Do what you want to do. That's what it is. But Miss Shivers, I thank you for being with me today.
it? You're welcome.
Thank you so much, and I hope we can do it again.
Will do.
Yes, indeed. And everybody out there watching, thank you so much for being tapped in after the break. It's been a great episode, great dialogue, great information. And for all of those that may want to sign that petition of 100,000 if they haven't reached their goal yet,
Targetfast.org. They're already there. You'll just be an extra one. Don't be
there
knocking
you are.
something I already know what I'm a part of.
There you go. There go the site. That's what I do over here after the break, man. We promote black motion. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do. I promote black motion. I don't matter the cause. It doesn't matter the cause. If it's positive, you know what I'm saying? That's what we promote. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether or not I agree or support it. Is it beneficial? Is it going to hurt us? That's what's more important. If it's not going to hurt us, I don't mind. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean I have to sign up for it. That don't mean I have to subscribe to it. Or none of that. I concern myself on whether or not it's going to hurt us. And I don't think the movement is going to hurt us because I am a believer that, to your point, like we all are not the same. We shouldn't be the same. We shouldn't expect one another to be the same. So just because we have different perspectives on life don't mean that we can't still work together and be in alliance with one another because we need one another. And I need people like yourself, Africa. So thank you for being with me today.
You're welcome.
Indeed. May the Most High God continue to bless each and every one of you in every good and godly way. Be gone.